Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Why Nobody Plays video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about one of the more forgettable champions in the game, and that is Icarus. Now, Icarus, he's pretty much one of those champions that you kind of forget about over time and are only reminded of them when you actually see them on a node or on defense in battlegrounds. And so in today's video, we're going to be discussing on why nobody plays them. But like we always do with these kinds of videos, let's actually break down all of his abilities first and then later on discuss why nobody plays him.
You don't have future here. You don't have future. You can never make it. You're supposed to be a dinner man, serving dinner to the students in the secondary school. Because you cannot do basic 1+1. You are here breathing heavy like a dog.
All of Icarus's basic attacks are energy damage, and he's also immune to incinerate, shock, and he also reduces the damage of poison by 20%. Now when he's struck by a medium attack, he inflicts a power detonation debuff which lasts for 15 seconds, and if this debuff expires naturally, the opponent will then receive a burst of 200% energy damage. If the opponent launches a special attack, the debuff will then be removed with no penalty and will go on cooldown for 10 seconds. Now moving on to his energized buffs. Whenever either he or the other champion strikes him or hits into his block with a light attack, he then gains an energized buff. Each energized buff lasts indefinitely until it's consumed, and while he has one or more active, he gains plus 70% combat power rate. The effect of the energized will then be reduced by 50% when he's used as a defender, and this type of combat power rate cannot be increased or decreased by outside sources. Now while he has 7 or more energized buffs, he will then inflict the opponent with a burst of energy damage per energized buff. However, this has no effect against Mystic champions. All of his special attacks will consume 10 energized buffs on hit, and landing a heavy attack will inflict the opponent with incinerate debuffs equal to 50% of the energized buffs and removes one energized buff. Now as for the incinerates, the maximum of these that he can have is 225, and each incinerate will deal a certain amount of energy damage over 22 seconds, and they also remove perfect block chance and decrease block proficiency by 50% while active. Landing a heavy attack will also pause all the incinerate debuffs for 8 seconds, but moving on to the special attacks. Special 1. It inflicts 3 incinerate debuffs on each hit, and the last hit will remove all incinerates and apply them all back with full durations. While he has 10 energized buffs, he'll gain a protection buff for 30 seconds, preventing him from taking more than 5% of max health from a single hit, except for the damage that he takes from special 3s. Now if he has less than 10 energized buffs, he'll gain an armor up buff which increases armor rating by a certain amount for 30 seconds. The Special 2. It'll double all of the incinerate debuffs, and if there's no incinerate debuffs on the opponent, it'll then apply 10. He'll gain an unblockable buff for 8 seconds on special activation, and if he has less than 10 energized buffs, he will then gain a physical resistance buff for 30 seconds. The Special 3. The damage dealt will be considered as true damage and applies additional attack rating per unique buff currently on Icarus, and each incinerate debuff on the opponent will also grant him additional attack rating for the attack, and all of them will be consumed except for 10 of them. But moving on to the awakened ability. Whenever the opponent tries to apply an effect that Icarus is immune to, he will then inflict an energy vulnerability passive which reduces energy resistance by a certain amount depending on the SIG ability for 10 seconds, and the maximum of these that he can place is 10. And that is it for Icarus, a pretty incinerate focused champion with a lot of buffs here and there, and also some pretty big damage on the special 3. Now as for his attire, it's pretty solid. I don't really have anything bad to say about him. However, this position right here, why is bro positioned like that, man? Well, he does have some gray hair, so it's understandable why his posture is like this. But yeah, his outfit is really clean, definitely looks solid, but not something that great. But anyways, onto the topic of why nobody plays him. Now I'm not gonna lie, while I was testing this guy, man, he was pretty boring to play. Now not really in the sense of he can't really do a lot of damage, but more in the sense of you have to constantly manage his incinerates, you kind of have to keep refreshing them and kind of repeat the same cycle over and over again. However, with Icarus, it's just too too much the same. It does take a while to kind of stack up those incinerates, and in scenarios where you pretty much need an incinerate dealing character, you can pretty much go with Human Torch or even Omega Sentinel, who pretty much kind of has the same playstyle as his, where you apply debuffs and then go for the special 3 to deal the damage. However, Omega Sentinel, her damage is based off of the debuffs, and the special 3 is kind of just there in case you go over the special 2 bar. And also after launching the special 3, you pretty much have to do the whole cycle all over again, which is kind of boring in cases where the opponent doesn't die. In a longer match, you'll pretty much just feel better bringing someone else. If you need damage over time, you can pretty much just go with Shuri. She also has a special 3 that deals more damage depending on how many debuffs you have. However, her debuffs don't go away, yet his does. He definitely is a great champion. However, with the newer champions that we keep getting every single month, a champion like him is pretty much only good for defense. And I'm sorry Nagase, but Icarus just isn't for me, man. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments who else I should make a video on. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!